So I'm culminating my personal study of Scott Weiland, and he is beautiful. And there's so much that I recognized in him, more strikingly in his younger years, that is just so just kind of I recognize it as white trash, and I recognize it as like queer male white trash, and and it's so buried. It wasn't the main talk of like what this band was for my experience growing up. Like, I'm figuring this out recently, right? And but I'm like seeing, and it wasn't talked about that much, I don't think. Um, but like people say, like, this was our David Bowie. This was our American David Bowie, and like he was our rock star, and like that's very much like the Gen Z voice, like coming through and saying like he was our David Bowie, he was our rock star, he was our rock god. Um, but like I'm just trying to figure out like how he hits for me, and he's so white trash, and so am I, and white poverty is the silent majority of this country, and but like there's some of us that just like we just clearly are our kind, yeah, and and he's one of those, and but wow, just like I found, God, oh my God, I had to watch clips from somebody's recorder. I don't even know what kind of recorder, from the fucking 90s, from shows, and just the quality was awful. And it wasn't just the visual quality was awful. I can live with that, and you still run into visual quality issues. But like, oh my God, the sound quality on literally anything recorded during the last like 10 years, 10-15 years is better than like anything prior to that. And it's just like, it hurts me sometimes. It hurts me. I got sensitive ears. It hurts me when I listen to shit from like the fucking 90s and it hasn't been remastered. Oh my God, I was sneezing at remastered for the longest time, and now that we're like in the 2020s, and I listen to shit that's like prior to 2000s that has not been remastered, it hurts me. Anyway, Scott Weiland, like, he had a long battle with drugs, right? And I can kind of, like, that was like the first thing that I really picked up on, was just that I know drug use, and I know addiction, and I know being able to recognize a person with wherever they are at in that arc of things. And that's usually what I pick up on. And I think that's probably what made me uncomfortable when I was younger, when I was like, what is this? Plus, he's just such a the Barbarella video sums it up so well, because he's literally an alien. And he acts like an alien. And he acts the way that is just like, I think I come across like that sometimes. And the way that every neurodivergent person that, like, I've talked about it, like, down and dirty, like, we always end up feeling like an alien, because, like, there's a way that just we are, and that reality makes sense, and then there's just this tomfoolery that people subscribe to, and that they are very convinced that that's real. And there are those of us who exist outside of it. That was hard for me as a child. I've recently, in my trauma healing, been encountering some more occasions of just needing to accept that it's really hard to balance what you understand as reality and yourself and the world and what's happening around you, countered with most of the people around you are acting as if this other reality exists. And you experience consequences in your reality if you don't participate adequately in that silly, not entirely real reality that other people have agreed to participate in together. If you agree with that, if that made sense to you, you're probably neurodivergent. Because I think something that we all share is that, it just hasn't ever seemed right. We've always been able to see through it, right? Anyway, where the fuck was I going with this? With Scott Weiland. Yes, I'm peeing. My favorite podcaster regularly pees during... He edits his videos. I don't edit my video. Like, that's... If I were to look for an excuse for my behavior right now, it would be that I don't edit my videos, because I just haven't learned how to do that yet. And Crime Pays What Botany Doesn't is an excellent channel on YouTube. I think he might be on Spotify or something as well. But this, like, fucking New York Italian accent from Chicago, who lives in, like, South Texas, and who's really into botany, and who, like, is like a train conductor or something in his, like, day-to-day career. Encyclopedic knowledge. ADHD is shit and angry at the world. Encyclopedic knowledge is just... Anyway, it's been a while since I made a video like this that I was just like, bleh, let me just vomit. Let me just mentally vomit. Okay, so Scott Weiland and... Barbarello is an excellent example of just, like, that was telling me that he was, like, recognizing that he feels like a fucking alien. But there's just, like, I was watching these live videos of him perform, and I was seeing what people were talking about as far as, like, the American David Bowie. I was seeing that come through. And just, like, makeup, hair, not so much hair, makeup, clothing. I always really appreciate his clothing choices. I'm not a makeup person. I never have been. But he tends to do shit that I really appreciate, He does, like, in one of the videos I was watching, he had, like, really intense smoky eyes, like, 10, 12 years before smoky eyes got really popular. Y'all, I went on a whole fucking tangent tonight at work during close with a coworker. I went on a whole fucking tangent about generational trauma and how trauma is stored in our genes, but also so is information that other people who are aware of this left for us: tools, gifts, comfort, solidarity. I'm getting over a nasty winter sinus infection. So I'm finally at the end, I think, of the Scott Weiland journey that I feel like I have recovered enough information that I know where I stand with him. And I think he's someone like me, and I don't know what the word is for it. But we exist to, I don't know, in a way, just slightly rub everyone we interact with just a little bit the wrong way. We're always just a little off to everyone we encounter. If someone's cool with queers, we're just a little bit off. We're a little bit, we're the most discriminated against group at the time, right? If we're, I don't know, just like he was big in the fashion, and I would imagine that whatever the edgiest choices he could make at that time, given how masculinity was seen at that time, given what was happening in rock stardom, like what his peers were doing, and I think I feel like there was a point where, like, you kind of see that he's separated from where he came from, because early on you can see an active warring with where he's coming from, and I get it. My version, well, I have been separated from it. I've been intentionally separated from where I come from for most of my adulthood, honestly. I was always taught that, there was safety in hiding. There was safety in hiding who you were. And so it was always easy for me to assess the environment that I was in and how I should monitor myself in order to be more accepted. And a big part of my life right now is fully exists as all intersectionalities of myself, and to welcome others wherever they are. So all that being said, Scott Weiland is going to remain really personal to me. Because some of us just tend to exist in a way that we're always going to be a little outside the mark. Good enough to be noticeable. Good enough to be respected. A little outside of normal, in ways that challenge everyone around us. And, unfortunately, I think he mostly struggled with, feeling all right in himself, and struggled with drug use and everything. And I know he and his last wife, the woman he was married to when he died, I know they were really close because they kind of on the same page before his death even happened, and just kind of felt like it was coming. It is fascinating to me. It'll be interesting if I ever figure out like a specific kaleidoscope for queer people that makes sense to me. sort of like a color wheel, you know, um, because you know, for a long time, and like even after I transitioned, I was scared of lesbians for a while, and and then Brittany Howard, um, you know, all that she is as a human that I know, the little that I know about that she talks about in interviews and shit. She's such an incredible person, and but she made me realize, like, dude, your number one ally in this world is gonna be lesbians for a large part, you know, and I've since realized, like, that's also like a safe place for both of us, because like there's none of the sexual attraction worry between us. There's no tension. There's purely the way I show up for you and the way I treat you is for you as a person, and like that's a beautiful thing, right? That's something that, you know, straight men take for granted between each other. That's the thing that straight women have together. That you know, they have there are things that they understand between them, and they have, you know, the culture that's happening, and I've really been grateful here recently to be around a lot of queer women, and as me now, and yeah, I'm so excited about fostering these relationships with these people, and to know that I had kind of a lot of pent up animosity and misunderstanding, and a lot of it was rooted in my mama trauma and all that shit, and coming to terms with knowing that I really looked up to lesbians, and knew that I could have some powerful friendships with women, queer women especially. You know, that pushed me into working through a lot of the last legs of the you know, parental trauma that I had to work through. So I'm really grateful to be where I'm at now with that. But so I was talking about like some sort of like diagram, some sort of way to make sense of like what these peaks and valleys are with just within queer world, right? Because I'm a very spatial person, and but there's something interesting about straight boys who are queer as hell, and these are typically non-binary. Sometimes they're pan, you know. Sometimes they're just like fully fucking queer, but like they're very, I don't know. They like Remington Leith from Palais Royale is my epitome of this, of just a cis male who is so femme, who has been at times one of the most lovely, I want to say women, but I know I'd sound like an asshole. Just one of the most beautiful, pretty fucking people that I have ever fucking seen. Remington Leith. And they're pan, but like, he's pan, but like, as far as everything that I know, like, he identifies as a cis male. And I'm just like, you're so much more effeminate than I ever want to be. And I'm a trans guy. But like, man, I really love those men though. Like, I don't want to be in a relationship with them because I don't get it, and that's not fully. I love it. I love it so much, and I want to take care of it. And I want to take care of you, right? And like something about you is me, right? Because in a way, what I'm doing is that. I was just born in this body, and so that's what this looks like. That's the kind of peaks and valleys that I need to fucking figure out. Because it gets so... There are multitudes within trans, and, like, that's what's confusing. And it can be confusing for people because, like, whatever way that could shake out, it will. I am working with a woman right now who is just the most masculine fucking person, and I kept theying her until I heard her say something like, "Oh, you're gonna do that to the new girl," and she's like, mid 40s, and like fucking crew cut, and like better jaw than me, man. Like fuck, and just like. And I'm just like, are you some sort of lesbian gentleman I have not encountered yet? And we're still figuring each other out. But there's just all kinds of people, man. But when you get into that, like, I think that's why people are so afraid of gender. Because maybe you don't know what it'll shake out to if you explore yourself. Yep.